Meeting of Personnel and Animal Welfare Committee to order. Myself and Councilmember Price present. We have a quorum. We are going to begin with public comments, beginning with Phyllis Dougherty, who has comment on items 15 and 16 and general public comment. So you'll have 2 minutes for the two items and 1 minute general public comment.
So 3 minutes.
Total of 3 minutes.
All right. Phyllis Dougherty with the Animal Issues Movement. In my recent dog license notice, I received a solicitation to buy tickets for the Annenberg display at the California Science Center. Speak quickly, this is a violation of state law, not only city law, using city mail to mail out something private, and Miss Barnett has put the little city logo down at the bottom of it, which is very interesting. Well, she'll give it $2 off. I'll give you the state code, Health and Safety 1216990H.
Could you repeat that?
Oh, sure, if you give me enough time. H&S, Health and Safety 121690, and it's subsection H. Okay, all information obtained from a dog owner by compliance with this chapter. By the way, this is about dog licensing, which is the only reason that the Department of Animal Services has a right to have personal information on any of us. So all information obtained is confidential to the dog owner and proprietary to the veterinarian. This information shall not be used, distributed, or released for any purpose except to ensure compliance with existing federal, state, county, or city laws and regulations. So she can use it for the purpose of my dog license. She's probably sent this out all over the city, which to the 100,000 dog owners. So I think that you might want to look into that. And this is an expensive ticket, by the way. You have to do it all online, so they capture all your information, how many people in your family, when you want to go, what you want to do. It's very clever, but I don't think it fits in for the city, and I thought you'd want to know. On item 16, ironically, Annenberg at the same time just gave the Department of Animal Services a $100,000 donation. And it says it's for charitable purposes. It says it's an unrestricted commitment by Annenberg, but it's for charitable purposes. That means it can't be used for animal welfare. It can't be used for spay and neuter. So this is just a little slush fund for fun and games. What's it going to be used for? $100,000 for Miss Barnett, with no restriction on it for the animals. And lastly, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to provide you with any of this. On the personnel and on the report on the dog kennels, I'll wait till you. Do you have everything? You have a copy of this in your file. Read the letter carefully, how it's worded, because, like I said, it's unrestricted commitment, but it is restricted use only for charity. So on the dog pet shops and kennels, this has gotten worse and worse. Now it isn't even a law. Before granting a permit, the general manager shall consider the pet shop's location, size, operation, significant factors. What are they considering? What about them are they considering?
Thank you. Your time is up.
Yeah, you used my time. And how will this be enforced that they will all be city and county pets? There's no way to enforce that. We have no officers.
Thank you. Next speaker is Wayne Spindler on all 17 items.
Fucking 17 fucking items. I'm going to do this.
Please start his time.
Fucking 17 items. So we'll start from the back. That's like the way that Eric Garcetti starts, from the back. So, pet shops about dogs, cats, and rabbits. From an animal shelter. No, I've got 100 rabbits, and I want to put them in to your shelter, and then I want them to sell through pet shops. So, yes, I'm against that item. Now the donation from the Annenberg Foundation. What? I don't want money from the Annenberg Foundation.
Fuck the Annenberg Foundation.
Number 14, Performance Commission reports, employee engagement survey. Current Price gives this a 0 out of 10. He's very, very mad about item 14. That's why today he's chosen not to wear a tie in protest of item 14. 13, the first supplemental agreement to the Siegel Company. Siegel Company? Why, that must be some of those Jews getting money from the city. So, of course, the chair will support that, because it'll go to Israel to help them with more security contracts illegally with the DWP, which our good friend Jack Humphreyville is waiting to come up here and drop more dime. Then number 11, the in-lieu position authorities. The in-lieu position is going to the back of Eric Garcetti and sticking a cock up his ass. Number 10, civil service, workforce development equals fraud. No on number 9. Then we get back to 8. 8 for the city planning for the civil service.
And now your minute for general
Oh,
comment.
okay. So now we're on the general comment. So as you know, that we have people in the room here that ratted out the DWP and Mike Fuhr's office for crap that happened was shit. And Current Price the whole time knew about it, about dirty lawyer tricks, because when he graduated and got his JD from Santa Clara Law School, he failed the bar, so he couldn't get his law license, like Paul Barton Krikorian who lost his bar card. And then, of course, we got Weezer, and he's going to lose his freedom and his bar card. So, again, lawyers fucking up. And that's why Paul Koretz has a message. Don't go into law. Go into accounting, buy a duplex so it's worth $2 million one day so you can watch all your fellow councilmen go to prison while you retire. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Herman.
Is this about the limit pet shop permits, sir? Is this about the permits for little animals?
I think you've signed up for all 17 items, so you can speak on whatever you'd like, plus
I just
a minute of...
wanted to confirm how many items there are, and I only get less than 60 seconds per item, and I'm not going to have enough time. But, you know, ever since the city attorney made the news regarding Mike Fuhr dumping illegal feces of animals and urine into the sidewalk and was cited on a fine, I think these pet shops should have the same recommendations, that they should wash all the little dogs, all the little cats, and some of the little rabbit pebble round balls into the streets so that people can learn how to see how real people who are homeless live out on the sidewalk and streets. You see, there was no community impact report statement, but although it does say yes, I cannot believe the city attorney, because they usually use a threat management unit like I was threatened today at the police permit panel by Mr. T-Fank, who ordered them to put the ICD against me because I said I would put a fucking bullshit.
Just on one of the items on our agenda.
I'm sorry, I'm regressing. I'm sorry. At my age,
Continually
you regress.
through, yes.
Yes. So regarding Department Animal Service, acceptance to a donations for $100,000 regarding Annie Ann Berg, whoever the bitch is. I don't really care. Just give us the fucking money so we can use it in the general fund to pay off some of these illegal citations you give out. And then regarding the police at the airport, I'm kind of confused. Someone asked me, hey, why do we have state police and we have federal police? Because I said they're all fucked up.
And now you're on to your general public comment.
So, regarding the political hyperbole, regarding my ejection at a meeting at 1 o'clock occurring at 100 First Street at the police department, a gentleman by the name T-Fank, who sits in your public safety, made a threat against me for speaking about my little doggies.
This is off topic because it's not in the jurisdiction of this committee.
This is regarding my general public comment on animal welfare in committee. It's very personal to me because I have a little dog, and she felt threatened that you wanted to order my public comment as being disruptive when all I said is Walter Edward Bagdasarian said regarding Obama that if I
This
could
is
put
still
a
not on in the purview of
Are
this
you
committee.
crazy? Put that fucking caliber, if I could, to the fucking nigger's head.
Thank
Fuck
you.
Obama and
time
fuck you.
Your time is up. And for people that have not been here before, my apologies due to First Amendment and cases that we have lost previously. It's clear that we have to let people speak, no matter how vile they may be. The next speaker is Michael Hunt. Well, I have you down here. If not, so you're not speaking today. Well, there's a number of fictitious names here, so anyone, I'm not going to call a bunch of people I know clearly don't exist, but I know. Excuse me, you're speaking from the audience. I'll give you one warning. If you do it again, we'll have to have you removed. Next, we'll ask Jack Humphreyville to come up and speak. You have 3 minutes. You have 2 minutes for item 2, 3, and 4, and then 1 minute for general public comment.
Okay. Item 13, which is Personnel
Actually,
Committee.
13, yes.
13 for Personnel, or 12, I think, is for Personnel Committee. I just want to emphasize that I think that's one of the core departments, and that it is underfunded the way it's looking at. You look at the budget, and it's up from 64 to $70 million, but there's only 2 more positions. So, again, I would sort of suggest that your department try and beef up that thing. One, just so it alleviates the bottleneck in hiring, and 2, follow up on on Ron Galpern's suggestions. My general public comment and my comments on 2, 3, and 4 are with regards to transparency of the budget process. A couple of weeks ago, we went through the city council approved the coalition agreements, but there was no transparency in there. What are the components of the $282 million that are there? Is this a 15% raise? Is it a 10% raise? Nobody has any clue about what's going on. You just blew through these things. With regards to the police contract today, we're talking about excuse me.
Go on. Your time is expiring, so just speak.
Yeah, but nobody has a clue about where this $252 million is and how it works out to be an annual increase. Is it a 15 or 20% increase? Excuse me, could you ask them to be?
Excuse me, City Attorney, could we have some decorum here? Thank you. Your time is still counting, though, so you.
Well, even when they interrupt?
Well, it's really not your call to determine whether
Okay.
somebody else speaking is distracting.
I'm glad to see that we're so considerate here. But nobody has any idea about the $252 million and the components of it and how it relates to the base salaries of about $1.35 billion. And I think we deserve a better understanding rather than just a quick little paragraph at the bottom of a 2-page memo, which is hardly descriptive. I just think that lack of transparency here is horrible. And I think you all should be ashamed of yourself. Thank you.
And if you'd like to speak under general public comment, okay. And I believe the MOU is on the city website, so I think you can read that there to get more detail. Arnold Sachs. You'll have 2 minutes on your items plus 1 minute of public comment.
Well, thank you very much. For the record, Arnold Sachs. Items on the agenda first? And then
Yes.
public comment?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did hold a few items. I held item number 12 for modernizing. It's coming, and that's why this is probably one of the most important items on the agenda, because when they modernize then they have to downsize. So you have to worry about your jobs. They had this story in the LA Times regarding the ports, and the longshoremen came to city council and they complained about the ports. And the picture shows that the machinery they're going to use is already on the way. 127 cranes to take out 500 jobs. But we're all standing behind that. Be very wary. You might even want to consider as a union getting sworn personnel. Then everybody has equal footing. I held item number 14 about the commission reports, which goes back to item number 12. Don't take a commission. Don't fill out the report. If they have to downsize, you're going to be looking for disgruntled employees. You don't want to be a disgruntled employee because then you'll be out looking for a job, and they're very hard to find. I know everybody has great benefits here, but still, you want the job and the benefits. Might look into the ACA to help with the benefits. I held item number 15. Again, it's $100,000. This is a story on August 18th. State market for pot has no bounds. 3.1 billion legal trade leads the world. See, it's a world market for a city, a state. The state has a world market in pot. The world market's usually made up of countries. State leads the countries.
And you're into your general public comment
My
time
general
now.
public comment. Well, this is be general. Well,
Go ahead.
So, where's the money? We have no programs for any of this money. If you take 10% of that, $3.1 billion, it's $310 million. And the year before that, it was $2.5 billion. And 10% of that is $250 million. And $250 million and $3.1 million is $560 million. Where's the money? How come this city is in such crappy shape? That's just 10%. I mean, I know this is the state funds, but still the city is getting a damn good size of this funding also, because if the state leads, the city's not too far behind. And last but not least, there's an amending the municipal code. Does that mean you have to change the city charter too? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call Red Chief Hunt. Not here. I believe there are several clearly fictitious and hate speech oriented names that look like they are made up. If there's anybody that's actually a real person that is present that signed up and has not been called, please come up and give us your name. As I thought. So, all right. So, I'd like to begin with the consent calendar. I would recommend that we take items 1 through 6, 9 through 11, 13, and 16 on consent. Give you a minute to look those over.
1 through 6.
1 through 6, 9 through 11, 13, and 16. Actually, we have one speaker on 16. Do you still wish to speak? In which case, I'll take it off consent. Vince Wong? Okay, so we'll just leave that on consent. So are all those work for you? All right, so those will be passed without objection. Item number 7.
Item 7, communication from the mayor relative to the exemption of one chief administrative analyst, class code 1554, for the CAO from the civil service pursuant to Charter Section 1001B.
Good afternoon. Alma
Welcome.
Guerrero from the mayor's office. We're moving forward an exemption request for one chief administrative analyst for the CAO's office. It's a new exemption, a modified exemption, and this is going to be 145 of the 150 exemptions. It's currently funded and authorized in the budget.
And why was this classification chosen for this position?
Good afternoon, Melissa Velasco with the CAO. So this classification was chosen because it most appropriately matches the duties of the city's homeless coordinator, which is the position we're requesting to exempt. So one of the distinguishing features of the chief AA classification as listed in the class spec is that a chief AA is responsible for managing professional employees involved in making analyses and conducting studies to solve difficult administrative or legislative problems with a citywide impact. So if the city's homelessness crisis isn't a difficult problem that we're facing that has a citywide impact, I'm not quite sure what is. So we really feel like this particular classification most accurately describes the duties that are being performed by this position.
So has the CAO considered creating a new civil service classification that might meet this more closely, or is it still too far off to reach by that method?
Well, there's a couple of factors involved in that. So one of them is that the CAO does have a number of chief administrative analyst positions within the department that sort of have varying sort of scope as far as the specific items that they work on, but the overall classification is very similar as far as they oversee a group of staff in the office who are sort of involved in that. So we really felt that for consistency across the office, it was appropriate to have this same classification that exists within the office perform these same duties.
So would we have the position, person in this position look at taking a civil service exam at a later point?
So that's absolutely something that we could explore with the individual. So as sort of mentioned at the beginning of the presentation by Ms. Guerrero, this is a new exemption. However, it would replace an existing exemption for a principal project coordinator. So there is an individual who's acting as the city's homeless coordinator who is a principal project coordinator. So we would effectively eliminate the existing exemption for that principal project coordinator and then put this person into the exempt chief administrative analyst position. That being said, it's absolutely something in the future that we could look at opening up for the civil service examination process. One thing that is unique about this particular position, and as you remember, council member, it really was only 3 or 4 years ago that the city really started realizing that we were facing a significant homeless crisis, and until that particular point in time, the city sort of delegated most of the responsibility for looking at homeless issues to LAHSA, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Agency, and it was really only 3 years ago that we realized that we needed to bring some more expertise and experience in-house due to the significance of the crisis that we were beginning to face. So because of that, we brought in this particular individual at that point in time who had that amount of expertise. But as the city continues down, we are anticipating that civil service employees will be getting more expertise in this particular area, and therefore in the future it could be an opportunity that we could open up for sort of a civil service examination process in the future.
Great. Mr. Price, anything to add?
Nothing to add.
All right, so I would recommend that we approve the mayor's recommendations without objection.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8.
Item 8, communication from the mayor relative to the exemption of one chief zoning administrator, class code 7999, for the Department of City Planning from the Civil Service pursuant to Charter Section 1001B.
Alma Guerrero, mayor's office.
Is there someone from the planning department that's supposed to be here?
There was a minute ago.
Why don't I hold this one and see if that person
get them?
comes back as
Great.
well.
Thank you.
How about item number 12?
Item number 12, continued from August 29th, 2018 and June 5th, 2019. Joint CEO, Chief Legislative Analyst, City Personnel and Controller reports relative to modernizing the recruitment hiring process for city employees.
Welcome.
Hi, Tristan Noack, CLA. So my report is the joint CAO CLA report. That's very brief. It was respondent to a letter from this committee requesting some reports based on recommendations made in the July 2018 Controller Report. This one was specifically about renaming the Personnel Department to the Human Resources Department. So the Personnel Department is identified in the Charter, so changing its name in the Charter would require a public vote. However, there are other departments who are identified in the Charter, such as the CAO, which is identified as the Office of Administrative and Research Services, that had a different title designated through ordinance, and a similar thing could be done here.
Okay, I wonder if you could walk us through the questions and answers that we requested.
So that's more so the personnel report.
Yes, thank you.
Wendy Macy from the Personnel Department, and I'm just here to present our report, which is contains, I think, the bulk of the recommendations that were in the Controller's audit. So first, I just want to express appreciation to the Controller's Office and to your committee, because what you're doing is you're providing visibility to some of the initiatives and recommendations that we ourselves have in our own department. And so we appreciate this opportunity to highlight them. There are many, many initiatives that are set forth in the report, and for the sake of brevity, I'm not going to go through each of them in great detail, but they generally fall into three main categories. One is, improving and streamlining the hiring process, which we know is a topic that has come up again and again, has been and is near and dear to this committee, and also to our department. Another is basically how do we better engage the community and our candidates to make our jobs more attractive and make sure that pipelines are available for all Angelenos. And then thirdly, our engagement activities that are directed at current city employees so that we can help them promote and be successful within the city family. So we spend some time, again, on a number of these initiatives. A lot of them relate to our increased use of technology and becoming more candidate-friendly. The hiring process has been speeded up using our Anytime, Anywhere testing model, which allows people to test from home. So that obviates the need for having a facility available for our large-scale multiple-choice tests. With that, we've been able to implement an express testing model, which means that we're able to do the exams intermittent continuously. So every couple of months, we're able to do another administration, so departments no longer have to wait a couple of years to get a refreshed list. We're expanding that concept to actually do the interviews on an online basis, where candidates can actually record themselves conducting their interviews, and then we can reach a great many more candidates more quickly in that manner.
What would you say is the percentage so far of how much more quickly we're able to administer those tests by using the express method?
Well, the express testing, we've really been able to cut down sort of the exam development phase. So really, where an exam can take hundreds of days to do, we've actually cut maybe 75% off the time. Of course, that's only for a limited amount of exams. We're trying to get more into that model, but it all depends on, do departments have a constant need to refresh? So we wouldn't want to do it for every exam, but for the ones where we are doing it, it's been very successful. The online interviews will help a lot in terms of getting raters, because they'll be able to actually review at their leisure a video of the candidate, which they'll be able to even do from a smartphone. So that's going to be a great innovation. I do want to highlight our work with on-campus recruitment, as well as reaching out to conferences and other special events. This is another way that we're increasing our pipeline to the city, as well as expansions to targeted local hire. We're trying to update our civil service job classifications and job bulletins. As you may know, some of these have not been revised in many years, and they contain bureaucratic language. And again, we're trying to make it so that it's more accessible to people and fun and really shows what the job is like. We're really all doing a lot of branding. We, for the first time, have some resources in our recruitment area. So we're able to use paid social media as well as attend many more community outreach fairs and events of that nature. With respect to our existing employees, we have developed an onboarding module through Cornerstone, which helps greet employees from the time that they walk in the door to help them transition smoothly to city service. We're working on enhancing our core supervisory training, mentorship, leadership academy, and professional skills training. So all of these things, again, we think will help our workforce develop more quickly into the roles that they're now being asked to fulfill.
And the onboarding process, how much more quickly do you think these changes will make that process go?
Well, it's really more a way to have a consistent method of welcoming people in the department. So a lot of that is still done on a department-by-department basis. What we do is provide now the computerized resource by which they can put some of the common forms and informational videos and so forth online. Within the personnel department, we're working on an initiative what we call Day One, where we're going to have a cohort of our new staff that have joined within the last quarter, say, and we'll put them through a rigorous one-day TED Talk style introduction to our department, and we're hoping that other departments will follow that model.
So what can we do to be sure that the 23 departments involved all jump in and get on board? Because I know with the TLH process, eventually everybody really participated, but it sometimes took a lot of nudging to get all the folks that should have involved. So anything we need to do to nudge people in the process with this one?
We'll definitely let you know. I mean, we're starting out on a pilot basis with our department, and then as we sort of work out the bugs, we'll probably be approaching the other departments and seeing if they would like to use that methodology as well. But we'll certainly get back to you on that. The final item, and I don't, not that to sort of put things off, but on benefits, any kind of long-term, changes to our LA Well benefits program do require the input of the Joint Labor Management Benefits Committee, and so we have created an ad hoc plan design subcommittee already to look into that to those efforts, because as you may know, in some of the other employers in the area, the benefits are new and innovative benefits are being offered to people, not necessarily traditional benefits, and so we want to make sure that we have that competitive advantage as well, so the benefits committee is going to look into that as well. So I have a lot of staff here who are spearheading the various initiatives. Should you have questions or want to delve deeper into any of them, and again, I've given short shrift to them, but the staff have put a lot of work into all of these, and again, we're trying to make the hiring process go more quickly. We appreciate the budget that's been given to us, but it still remains a challenge to get our exams done as quickly as we can, and we rely a lot on our operating departments to provide us with raters and subject matter experts, and so anything that your committee could do to help us, because it's a two-way street with our customers, would be greatly appreciated as well. But again, we really appreciate the budget help that the council has given us.
I've got a couple of questions, and then I'm sure Mr. Price does too. I know we have slowly gotten our TLH program really up and running and accepted, but I know there's been an effort to allow some of our TLH candidates to be accessed by non-city employers and be hired that way. What does that look like currently?
We've referred some of our candidates to Vince, if you want to chime in, feel free. But we've referred some of our candidates to other agencies. We've also met with other agencies because we partner with them in some of our initiatives. I believe LA County wants to talk to us, and I know you're working with LAUSD on some things.
Yes, Vince Cordero. We've been sharing opportunities, job fairs with the candidate pool, but there hasn't been a formalized relationship in terms of referring candidates to other agencies. The Target Local Hire Working Group has been considering that issue, and our former chair, Jackie Goldberg, was having conversations with LA County to try to develop a partnership. When she left us to the LUSD, she was going to continue that conversation, and we hope to have an update on that and develop a partnership with the county in particular of a shared pool where we could share those individuals with the county for opportunities that may arise there.
So are we looking at Well, obviously, a first step would be LAUSD, LA County, other similar entities to ourselves. When we've done that, is there any way to continue to move forward with that to private employers?
We've looked at that too. The working group has looked at that. There's been concerns about salaries and benefits with those private employers. If a viable contractor or private company comes up, I imagine we would take it to the target local hire working group for consideration. That has yet to happen, but if there's definitely employers where we could have that direct relationship, we would suggest to reach out to our office and we could present that to the working group for consideration.
I mean, do you need a formal council motion to encourage you to take all these steps, or are they on track enough without that specific direction?
I think it's on track. When it comes up, they do consider it, but if there is one that you guys want us to look at, you could send it to myself and I'll present it to the working group for consideration. So
I mean, certainly sort of all of the above, because I mean, we are being successful now in implementing this within the city, but I think we have so many folks that we've pre-qualified that it's too good an opportunity not to allow other government entities and then other private entities to make use of it and help get all these folks jobs that normally are hard to hire.
We do have a targeted local hire working group meeting already scheduled, so we'll be happy to add that to the agenda.
That would be great. Couple other things. I wonder if you could give us a brief overview of DOT's leadership training program.
DOT used, I believe it was a Fuse fellow, to create a leadership program that all of their management and leadership went through. They presented to our department as an option that we might look into. I know the Fire Academy also has a leadership academy, so there are a number of good best practices around there, so we're working on something that can be translatable to a citywide basis. But it was originally developed as a Fuse program.
Right. And one last question for me. I wonder if you could speak to the Create the Future of LA campaign, and what are the goals of outreach the coming year, and what areas of the city will be targeted, and how much funding for outreach, etc.
We have received funding for recruitment, and that includes staff as well as advertising money to set up booths. You know, most of these job fairs require some sort of payment. And the important thing, I think, is the paid social media, because we use free social media, but what we've learned from our work in public safety is the reach of a free social media is minuscule compared to what is able to be done with targeted paid social media. So we believe we have an excellent story to tell about LA and about the jobs, opportunities, careers that are available in the city. You really do have an opportunity really to literally shape the future of LA in many different departments. And we have a big selling point in that we have so many different departments within the city. And as you know, once you arrive in the city as an entry-level person, you have the opportunity to promote onto many, many departments. And so this we'll now have an opportunity to use that paid social media to reach our candidate pool, and particularly when we're targeting specific populations or we have hard-to-fill jobs. That's where it really makes a big difference. So we're very, very much looking forward to this campaign. I think the item that the gentleman from the CLA spoke about, do we rebrand ourselves? Are we going to continue to be called the Personnel Department? Do we become Human Resources to become something even more modern? You know, a new logo, a new campaign, a new brand, all of that is very important. Gracie Liu is here. She's our new AGM, our Chief Engagement Officer, and she's working up, with her experience that she's had in mobilizing, people in the neighborhoods. She's using that expertise to work on our candidate pool as well.
And I wonder if, since we've been talking about the name change, if you could report back to this committee with a specific proposal once it's fleshed out a little more.
Be happy to.
Thank you. Mr. Price?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the report and for the work that we're doing in this area. It is important that we put a structure in place that's going to make it give us an opportunity to recruit the best qualified individuals for city service, so we appreciate your efforts. Taking a look at the college recruiting, I'm just kind of curious. We talked about doing some expansion of on-campus recruiting. Could you talk a little bit more about efforts outside of the state, if any, regarding recruiting? We had talked about recruiting at some of the historically black colleges at one time and other locations where there are rich pools of students, potential employees. And so what specifically are we doing in that area?
So the use of technology such as Skype, now the video interviews, allows us to reach, even if without incurring travel costs, throughout the United States. And we work with our departments. So Bureau of Engineering, for example, has done a lot of on-campus recruitment, and they've gone all over the country, and we assist them in that. What we've been trying to do is expand that. We've looked at ways to not only do campuses, but also conferences. And they may be conferences that, target engineers or, people that we definitely have a difficult time recruiting. We want to make sure that we attract them to Los Angeles. We've been doing that.
So could you give us an idea what those conferences are, what kinds of conferences you're targeting for that?
A couple that were for, I think in Las Vegas and Michigan, I want to say our staff's here, but they've done a number of them and have been really trying to recruit people to Los Angeles.
Have those efforts been successful?
I think we've gotten some positive success from some of these efforts, and we've been working with the HBCU committee as well. You want to talk a little bit about any of the conferences?
Sure. Tina Lee Rodriguez, Personnel Department. So the HBCU meets pretty much every other month, and they strategize as to which conferences they want to attend. NSBE conference comes up to mind, and also the National Hispanic Engineer Conference. There's several that they attend to on an annual basis, on a regular basis, and I would say that they have been successful. So I hope I'm answering your question. And we've... Well,
I mean, successful in what, getting folks to apply or getting folks hired? How are you judging success?
When they attend the conferences, they basically are part of the recruitment process to make sure that they are aware that the city is participating in the process, and they go through the actual selection process. They conduct interviews during the conferences so that they can actually score them and even make them same-day job offers at the same time. So I would say that there's been a handful of people being hired that way in terms of same-day job offers, and also there's plenty of people on the list that are put on the list as a result of these conferences. Mm-hmm. So I would say that in that sense, it's successful.
You mentioned in your report a couple times that you were benefiting from the budget help that you received. Can you be a little more specific? What areas have been helpful in terms of recruiting or identifying potential employees?
Well, I think the fact that we have money for civilian recruitment, the first time since before the recession in many, many years, is a tremendous...
How much do we allocate for that?
So recruitment, we have 2 new positions, a senior PA and a PA position. And in examining, we have 4 new positions, a senior PA and 4 PAs. So, and then also for anytime...
What helps us process?
The recruiters actually go and
attend community
events, analyze information on social media so that they can target recruit. For examining, obviously, those are the analysts, senior analysts that actually create and develop the exams through subject matter experts. There's also clerical staff that were funded. We have 5 additional positions that support the application processing and background checks of our candidates. There's also 3 more positions for anytime, anywhere testing process where staff is on hand to watch the videos for remote proctoring. So that's basically supporting the whole entire selection process and to increase, to handle the increase in our workload.
the anytime, anywhere recruiting is an interesting concept. Also, use of technology in ways that we haven't. But how do you really see that expanding? I mean, some people have been doing it on a sort of like a pilot basis. So, is there any plan to really roll out some Skyping or other technological support?
Yeah, actually the funding helps us to expand it because we went from our first year we only did 1,000 candidates going through this process. Then we went to 16,000, and so we hope to expand.
Wait. 1 to 16,000?
We went from 1 to 16,000 in 1 year. So, we still have some people that like the old paper and pencil format. So we have to work on some of these things to help people get more accustomed to using the computer and being more comfortable because they have to have basically there's a video camera watching them when they're taking the tests. So, we're just, as we get people more up to date on that technology, being more comfortable to that, we allow people to come into our computer center and take it if they prefer to do that. But we're, right now we still have, even if we offer it anytime, anywhere, sometimes half the people still say, no, that's okay, we still want to come in. So we want, as we get people more accustomed to doing it, we think these numbers will increase. And again, the video interviewing, that's new. So that'll be something that will get to a lot more people through.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and we will note and file the joint CLA-CAO report and the personnel report, and request the personnel department to report back with findings of the ad hoc plan design subcommittee, and to report back on moves forward towards renaming the department or exploring that.
And, Mr. Chairman, if we get a report back on this, on the video recruiting and how that effort is going, and sort of an update, how many, how any particular positions or departments have been successful.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Item number 14.
Item 14, Personnel Department and Innovation and Performance Commission reports relative to city departments participating in the Employee Engagement Survey Program.
Good afternoon, council members. Gracie Liu, Personnel Department. I'm joined here by with my colleague, Art Irigo, and we just wanted to provide you an update with the USC survey. As you see from the report, we have been waiting for USC. The professor who actually leads the survey has been working overseas in Italy for the past year. He recently has come back and is able to parcel out the survey results in a manner that we will be able to use and to individually speak with the city departments. In the meantime, however, we have been able to do a general broad results that we sent out in our July monthly newsletter to all the city departments. And if you have any other further questions about this, Art and I would be happy to answer them.
How would you just very briefly categorize the results thus far?
Sure. So Art has the specifics, so I'll turn that over to him.
Going in Personnel Department. So there were 3,842 respondents to the survey. The preliminary results came back, and the professor at USC is still having to wait the survey itself. He did provide some summary of the findings, such as 40% of the respondents, 40% of city employees live within the city. Mean years worked by elected, hired, appointed officials, elected 11.1 years, hired 13.4 years, and appointed 16.2 years working for the city. 38% of the respondents had a 4-year degree.
How many?
38% of the respondents. 56% of the respondents are generally satisfied with their job. 49% of employees agree that they are overall adequately paid for their work.
And what do you think the timeline is now in terms of getting everyone back together and actually getting a final report to us?
Sure. So the professor is now back. As I mentioned, that he would be able to give us the information by the end of this month. And if that's the case, then we will at least take September to review everything and parcel it out by department. Would you like a report back on after we speak to the departments or before we go to the departments?
Probably after you speak to the departments.
Sure. So then I'm anticipating sometime in October, November that we will be ready to come back to committee with an update.
Okay. Mr. Price, any additional questions? If not, we will note and file the report without objection. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 15.
Item 15, Department of Animal Services report relative to the acceptance of a donation of $100,000 from the Annenberg Foundation for unrestricted purposes.
Yeah, if we can grab Animal Services staff for this one.
Oh, I've got it. I've got it. Oh, actually, no, I have the other one.
Okay, it doesn't matter. I know what the ordinance says. Good afternoon, council members.
Good afternoon.
This is Assistant City Attorney Dov Lassell. This is on the Annenberg matter?
Yes.
The Annenberg Foundation is willing to give the city a gift of $100,000 to be used for animal services. I looked at the material that was presented during the public comment. I don't have the same alarms as the speaker did. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But the gift is a gift to the city from the department. I don't see an ethics violation. I can, between PAW committee and city council, check with our ethics attorneys. But I am comfortable that this gift does not violate the law. If my ethics attorneys feel otherwise, we will, of course, immediately notify the committee and council so that it will be held back.
And if I'm Brenda Barnett, General Manager, Animal Services, I might also point out that this is not the first gift the Annenberg Foundation has given us. They gave us a $50,000 gift last year that we were allowed to accept to put into the Animal Welfare Trust Fund, and this year they doubled the donation.
And will it wind up in that fund again?
In the Animal Welfare Foundation, absolutely. That's what anything that comes into us for charitable purposes goes into.
And how are those funds usually expended?
Well, they're expended like almost everything else in the city. I have a $5,000 limit. Anything over that, I have to go to the Board of Animal Services Commissioners. And when it...
I mean, what kind of expenses, or what would you cover? What would you cover? What kinds of expenses would you typically
for
cover?
example, in the last several years, we've bought x-ray equipment for all 6 of our animal services shelters. We've bought blood chemistry equipment for them. We've done a number of capital projects, such as putting AstroTurf in the play yards for the dogs. We've built additional fencing to have more play groups for the dogs. We've done, we've sent some of our staff to trainings, to conferences where they can learn more about what's going on around the country. It's always reported out at the commission meeting, and if it's over either $20,000 or $25,000, it comes to this committee and then to City Council for final approval.
And I believe some of the funds a couple of years ago was also spent for specialized equipment for the small animal rescue team. And so this is money that would not have to otherwise be spent from the city's general fund.
I guess there was a concern expressed that this money would have to be restricted in its use in some way. even though what we're passing is a report that says it would be used for unrestricted purposes. Are there any restrictions on
The Annenberg
use?
Foundation did not make any restrictions on it.
Do we have any restrictions under state law that would limit us to using it for any particular purposes?
I think, Councilman, the only restriction would be that it be used by Animal Services, and since it will be deposited into the Animal Welfare Trust Fund, it will be used for the purposes that the LA Administrative Code lays out for the use of money in that fund, which can only be used for Animal Services and animals.
So there really shouldn't be any controversy over this.
Not that I can think of.
And again, it's very similar to previous contributions. It's just a modestly larger amount.
Right.
Was this an unsolicited gift, or did we request 500,000 and get 100,000?
It was actually unsolicited.
Great. Well, if there are no objections, I would ask that we approve the Department of Animal Services recommendations without objection. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What else do we have before us?
Item number 8, Mr. Chair.
Yes, right. Item number 8.
Item 8, once again, communication of the mayor relative to the exemption of one chief zoning administrator, class code 7999, for the Department of City Planning from the Civil Service pursuant to Charter Section 1001B.
Welcome.
Alma Guerrero, Mayor's Office. We're here presenting an exemption request for Chief Zoning Administrator for the City Planning Department. This would be 148 of the 150, and this position is also authorized and funded in the current budget.
And why did the department make the request? How does it benefit the operations of the department?
Good afternoon. Tricia Keene, Deputy Director, Department of City Planning. I think, as you may know, the Chief ZA position is unique not just in the department but in the city. In fact, it's the only one of its kind. The Chief ZA oversees the office, engages in the Office of Zoning Administration, engages in high-level complex matters involving a number of different topics that are critical to the department's operation, and serves as a high-level member of the department's management team. I think in many ways the Chief ZA actually functions a lot like an assistant general manager. And so if you look at the configuration of other departments, the AGM position is often an exempt position so that the departments have a structure that allows them to choose the best candidate at the time for that position. And so the planning department has requested the exemption in order to have a long-term structure that will enable us to always have access to the broadest pool of qualified candidates for the position. And so that's really what led to the request to have this position exempt.
So was there a civil service list that could have been hired from, and did the department look at it?
So there was a civil service list. This has been in the past filled from a civil service process. Right. However, there was one of the things that the department's been doing, especially since the full executive team has been in place over the last year, is really looking at the long-term structure of the department so that we can ensure over time we will always have access to the right candidates for our high-level management positions. And so this was something that we're looking at the future structure and future operations of the department, and thought that this would be a really good way to ensure that we have the ability to fill positions on basically on our executive level team that will always have the right qualifications and sort of be the best fit for that position.
So when we hired people in the past from the list, why was it not effective enough?
I don't know that it wasn't effective in the past. I think there wasn't necessarily the opportunity at all times to be looking forward. And a lot of what the current planning director has been doing is taking a very hard look at how to set the department up for success in the future. He's doing this in a variety of aspects of the department, from everything from our fee structure and community plan update teams to the executive management team. And this is one aspect of the overall look at the department to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for long-term success.
Okay. Mr. Price, any questions?
Looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little hesitant to have us make this change, but I will rely on the planning director's expertise and recommend that we approve the mayor's recommendation without objection.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
That clears the desk, Mr. Chair.
Well, having nothing else before us, we are adjourned.